guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another Wicked Wednesday. It's been a minute. I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has subscribed recently. I know my Wicked Wednesdays have been a little more popular than usual, so thank you for watching. I also want to just address one tiny little thing. If you are here because you like Sarian, that's amazing. I love her too, but I'm not Sarian, so I do ghost stories and paranormal things. She does true crime. Just want to put that out there. So today's story is going to be really cool. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on a Wicked Wednesday. I would love to have you. I do these videos, I really enjoy them. Hit the subscribe button, join the fam. Today we're going to be talking about a really cool story. If you are familiar with the movie The Shining, you know, here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny.
Everybody knows The Shining, okay? It's a very, very popular Stephen King novel slash movie. If you're a horror fan, you know The Shining. If you're a regular human being, honestly, you probably know The Shining. Let's dive into it. We got a lot to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about the Stanley Hotel. Now, the Stanley Hotel is the hotel that inspired the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. Stephen King actually stayed in this hotel, and that's exactly what inspired his story. Why this hotel just gave him such a creepy vibe that he felt the need to write The Shining. I'm gonna do my makeup, obviously. I'm gonna not sit here and just drink coffee the whole time, although I would like to. This story starts with the owner. The owner has quite an interesting backstory. His name is Freeland Oscar Stanley, and a lot of people called him F.O. Stanley. So F.O. Stanley did not grow up in a wealthy family, but his family valued education and science and learning. So that was always a big part of his life. At the age of 9, he and his twin brother's name was Francis, they started their very first business. And they sold maple sugar. And then at 11, they learned how to build violins. And that was their next kind of business adventure. So they were always kind of into something. At the age of 20, he started college and he decided that he wanted to be an educator, a teacher. Following college, he accepted a position as the headmaster of a high school. And this is where he would end up meeting his wife, Flora. His wife, Flora, was a teacher, and they ended up getting married, of course, in the year 1876. Now, Freeland did end up opening a drawing set factory, which unfortunately ended up burning to the ground in the year 1882. Around this time, his brother, Francis, actually became really interested in photography. So he decided, well, my brother kind of just had this huge fail with this big fire. Let me just bring him in on my love for photography and let's make something cool. They ended up inventing dry plate photography. This made them kind of like their very early small fortune. This was kind of like their first invention together. They would go on to have more. So in 1897, Francis, the twin brother, became really fascinated in automobiles and bicycles and things that move. And back then, of course, in the very early, not even 1900s yet, that wasn't really a thing. They ended up inventing the Stanley Motor Carriage Company, which built steam-powered automobiles until 1920. The two brothers would do this, of course, for a while. But unfortunately, at the age of 53, Freeland was diagnosed with tuberculosis, which is deadly, of course, but he believed that his survival depended on staying really active. And it was commonly believed at this time that fresh air would actually slow the disease. He and his wife, Flora, were sent to Colorado, where there was a lot of open, fresh air and things like that. So he originally was sent to Denver, and then he ended up going to, first of all, y'all know I cannot pronounce stuff, I think it's called Estes Park. Don't clock me. I don't freaking know. So this place was mostly wilderness at the time. It was not even declared a town at this point. It wouldn't be until 1917. Rocky Mountain Park is also in that area. That was not established till 1915. So very, very early on, before any of this was even really established. So they spent a summer there and he started to get better. He started to gain some weight and he basically just defied the odds of his illness. So because of this, they decided that they would return every year as their summer retreat. They were from the East Coast. Because they wanted to go back every summer, they wanted to create a place that reminded them of their home on the East Coast and kind of the elite social status that they were used to back in the East Coast. They just wanted a place that reminded them of home. So, but you know, they're home away from home. So they wanted their retreat to just remind them of where they were from. In 1909, they built a 100-room colonial-style retreat. Technically, it was I guess at this point they called it a house. I've never seen a 100-room house, but I don't know. That was their thing. And 1 year later, a smaller lodge was completed. At this time, it was just an invite-only place. It was just theirs. It was not open to the public to book rooms. It wasn't a hotel. It was just an invite-only place that they could stay. They can invite their friends and family and things like that. It was their retreat. At the house's opening, John Philip Sousa, which was the famous composer, he actually directed the band at the house's opening, which was very cool. His autograph was on Flora's piano, which he had actually tuned himself, which is pretty cool. If you don't know, my dad's actually a piano tuner, so I thought that was a cool little tidbit. Unfortunately, this autograph was later removed by someone who was cleaning the piano, and he thought it was graffiti. Don't know how that happened, but Mr. Sousa's autograph is gone. Harry Houdini actually performed there. He's a famous magician. He performed in the ornate concert hall. His trap door for his famous escape act is still there, which is really cool. The whiskey bar inside of the hotel is one of the state's largest whiskey bars to this day. And at the time, it was kind of like a common ground for both sexes to kind of mingle together because, you know, the girls did their thing, the guys did their thing back then. And then in 1930, FO decided to sell the building to a corporation who transformed it into a hotel in 1930. And they really struggled with their success. They had a very hard time. And they later sold it to a man named John Cullen, very much like Edward Cullen, but probably not a vampire, in the mid-1990s. So quite a while later. This was just after many attempts to revive it had just failed. They just were not having success with this hotel. And at the time of the sale, budgets were so low and they were not making enough money. The duvet covers were literally nailed to the windows as like curtains because they just couldn't afford curtains or drapes or whatever you want to call them. The property could have continued failing very well if it hadn't been for a visit in 1974 from none other than Mr. Stephen King and his wife. I'm going to use the Nikita Dragun palette today. It goes with my background. My new background. Do I do colorful today? Oh my god, should I do purple? I should do purple. Stephen King, as I said, visited the Stanley Hotel in 1974. He went on to use this experience as inspiration for his very famous novel, The Shining. He claims that the Stanley had an otherworldly presence. He was not quite convinced that they were alone. Not good. It's kind of scary. They checked in at the very end of the season. The other guests were pretty much all checking out, so they had the hotel completely to themselves, like the entire hotel. Like it was just them and the staff and that was it. So at night, obviously the staff doesn't live there. They were completely alone. They stayed in room 217, which is the most requested room to this day because it is said to be the most haunted room in the entire hotel. On the night of their stay, they ate dinner alone in the Grand Hall, had drinks at the bar, and The Shining ended up being based on this overall experience they had of just being secluded and alone in this grand hotel. No, it's creepy. It is. Anybody would be scared to stay in this gigantic hotel alone, and not only was it just gigantic and scary and made you kind of go crazy knowing that you were alone in there, but it was also haunted, so it's pretty scary. Stephen King recalls that he had a dream that night that his son, his 3-year-old son, was running through the corridors of the hotel, looking back over his shoulder with his eyes just wide, and he was screaming, just running away from something. He was being chased by a fire hose in this dream. And Stephen King woke up with a jerk, and he woke up in a cold sweat. He almost damn near fell out of bed. You know that when you wake up and you like jolt and you're like, like you think you're about to fall out of bed and you're really not? He got up, lit a cigarette, and he sat there looking out the window, looking at the Rocky Mountains. And he said by the time his cigarette was done, he had the bones of his novel. Shining kind of came at a perfect time because the Stanley was failing. They weren't doing very well. Like I said, they were literally nailing bed sheets to the walls for curtains at this time. That's how broke they were. They were not doing well at all. And the reason for that is not because they weren't a great hotel. They absolutely were. The reason is because Colorado is really hard. It was kind of losing its appeal to tourists because it was always closed in the winter due to how difficult it was during the snow to get in and out of the hotel. Sounds pretty familiar, right? You have a big snowstorm, you're trapped there, can't get there, you can't get out. So they would close in the winter because of this. It's the reason why they weren't doing so well. They literally lost an entire season of business. So this sounds pretty familiar. As we know, the Overlook Hotel in The Shining had a very similar story. If you have not seen The Shining, basically they send Jack Torrance to watch over this hotel and basically babysit it for the season while they're closed. And he's there all alone with his wife and his son. They are certainly not alone, and he starts to go crazy because, you know, they're alone in this big hotel and it's a whole thing. If you haven't watched The Shining, I highly suggest you do. So let's talk about the Stanley. Is it actually haunted? Guests really seem to think so who visit the Stanley. In 1911, there was an explosion in room 217, the exact room that Stephen King stayed in with his wife. Chambermaid Elizabeth Wilson was sent flying during this explosion. She was sent through the floor and she broke both of her legs. She survived, but she is believed to still haunt the halls, which is pretty scary. Guests over the year have reported seeing a ghostly figure on the 4th floor, which greatly resembled Miss Flora Stanley. And they have also reported hearing her play the piano. Freelan F.O. Stanley has been reported to have been seen standing or hovering behind employees at the front desk, which is kind of creepy. Helicopter mom much? Over the years, a lot of paranormal activity has been reported in just about every room, to be honest. Clothes would mysteriously be unpacked in the rooms. Things would move on their own. Lights would turn off and on, you know, the ghost shit. Typical ghost shit. Children are often heard giggling in the halls. Anytime there's like a child ghost, it freaks me out. I don't know. I don't fuck with that. Employees at the Stanley do not like to give very many details. They like to kind of let the guests decide for themselves. They claim that there have not been any sinister reports at the hotel. They claim that all the ghosts at the Stanley are friendly. They say that they're only happy ghosts, which I appreciate. Happy ghost every once in a while doesn't hurt anybody. This looks horrible, so I'm just gonna tap it with my finger and hope for the best. And I'm gonna put something else on top. Is giving anyone else Barney vibes, or is it just me? Okay, I'm actually not mad at that. That eye is complete. Stanley does not shy away from being haunted, and it is actually known as one of America's most haunted hotels, and they don't shy away from that. They own it. They actually have a poster next to the cafe in the basement that kind of tells you how to take the best ghost photos and how to kind of look at your iPhone pictures and see like if there's a ghost in it. I also have a lot of Halloween festivities, a lot of which are kind of geared towards The Shining. There are multiple daily spirit tours where guests have actually photographed ghosts, which is pretty cool. The website also has special booking for certain rooms like 217, 401, 407, 428. Those are the more haunted rooms if you are interested in finding one and staying in one. Mick Garris, who directed the mini-series of The Shining, actually stayed in a Stanley Hotel. He stayed in room 217 as well. He fell asleep around 10 o'clock at night. At exactly midnight, he woke up wide awake for absolutely no reason. He said that was a very mild, supernatural kind of related thing that happened to him, but nothing crazy. Other people have talked about a spirit kind of sitting at the edge of their bed, like feeling like almost like a weight of someone sitting on the edge of their bed, not actually seeing someone there. They would turn around and look to see if someone was there and it would be gone. The hotel also has an on-site psychic named Madame Vera. She's available for consultations. Stanley, fun fact, was also the filming location for the movie Dumb and Dumber. So the Jim Carrey movie, if you haven't seen it, you must be living under a rock if you hadn't seen that or The Shining. So get on it. So let's talk about the Stanley today while I'm doing my actual face. So the Stanley's large white buildings, their beautiful red roofs, their perfectly manicured lawn, red carpeted interiors, heavy framed mirrors and portraits give the hotel a very old world feel. They have very grand sweeping stairways as well, which is definitely featured in the movie of The Shining. By the way, Stephen King hated, I don't know if we talked about that, but I don't think we did. Stephen King hated the movie of The Shining. Fun fact. The Aspire Annex, which is across the road, features a lot more modern architecture. So the Stanley is very unique in the sense that it's very old world feel. While the Stanley doesn't lean exclusively on their Stephen King connections, they do get a lot of tourist attraction just because they're in the Rocky Mountains. There are definitely tiny tributes here and there. The basement level of the hotel actually displays some of the film props, which is pretty cool, even though it was not filmed there. The front lawn of the hotel actually now has a very intricate maze, just like the one in the movie. It has like a hedge maze, which if you've seen the movie, you know all about the hedge maze, where, spoiler alert, Jack Torrance freezes to death at the end because he gets lost in the maze. It's very similar to the Overlook Hotel in that sense. The location of the Stanley is only 6 minutes from Rocky Mountain National Park, which is prime territory for nature lovers. So If you're a nature lover and you want to go see the Rocky Mountains, you could stay at the Stanley for sure. Wild animals have been known to come right up to the Stanley, which is kind of cool or scary, depending on how you feel about that. You know, I'm not saying you're going to come in contact with a bear if you stay there, but they do have wild animals. It's out in the wilderness. God, I just love concealer. Very much in line with the intentions of Freeland and Flora. The hotel still provides excellent entertainment. They often have musical acts, guest chefs. They offer expeditions in the Rocky Mountains, which is really cool. I don't know what they do on those, but I'm also a makeup person, not a wilderness person. And because of what was kind of suggested by Stephen King, the hotel just has a life of its own. Partly because of Stephen King, partly because it's just historic and it's over 100 years old. The room prices vary, usually are about $230 a night. Advanced booking is suggested for the more haunted rooms. I have not personally stayed at the Stanley, but I think it would be really cool to. I don't think I would be scared to stay there. There's some haunted hotels that I feel like I'd be scared of. The Stanley's not one of them. I think the Stanley, as my ghost enters the chat. The Stanley seems like it has, you know, no sinister activity going on, which I appreciate very much. I think I would feel comfortable actually staying at the Stanley, and I think it would be really cool to see. I've never been to Colorado. I've never been to the Rocky Mountains in general, so yeah, I think that would be pretty cool to see in my lifetime. I would really enjoy that. This is the finished look. That is the story of the Stanley Hotel. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Like this video if you want to see some more Wicked Wednesdays. I have plenty of them planned, so hopefully you guys are enjoying them. I have some more makeup content coming soon as well. You can get more of that on Instagram and TikTok, so follow me there. I'll link everything down below. I will list all the makeup that I used today down below. Check there if you want to know what I used. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!